Hello, welcome to Into the Twitterverse, a new name I've coined for this broadcast, hosted by myself, Davina, and exploring topical issues mostly pertaining to fascism. Tonight, touching on the attempted impeachment of Homeland Security Secretary Mayorkas, who Republicans tried to impeach, but they had a few no votes. Ken Burke. Who's the other dude? Anyway, enough so that the impeachment didn't proceed successfully, which, I mean, look, they just want people talking about impeachments, don't they? A Republican agenda would be to muddy the waters, to make ex-President Trump's crimes and malfeasance stand out less sharply. So throw something at the wall, see what sticks, and give their followers something to talk about, because they've got to keep believing. They've got to keep hanging on to that Republican narrative that they're doing things in the best interests of Americans, that they somehow care about national security and the border, even as they, on Trump's behalf, repudiate a bipartisan border security deal that would have made improvements to border security, and has been endorsed by the Union of Border Patrol Agents. So, yeah, it's a fabricated narrative that they're acting to advance the interests of the American people and conceal their true agenda, which is to continue to take money from lobbyists and advance some kind of Christian theocratic agenda that would help cement minoritarian control in the United States. So minoritarian control is the opposite of a functional democratic republic. It's when a minority of people gain leverage over the reins of power and use it to target minority groups and hate monger against minority groups in order to amplify us versus them sentiment, that kind of whole other approach that can really bring out passion in the human character. It can bring out an intensity of emotion that helps people untether themselves from verifiable reality and instead be prepared to accept whatever a fascist con artist leader might tell them. Oh, I'm not corrupt, they're corrupt. I didn't sell out American interests to China because I wanted to hide the terrible outcomes that my fake tariff, well, not fake, it was a real tariff trade war that Trump started with American trading partners. He talked about tariffs like they were a good thing instead of being what they are, which is a tax on the American consumer that often then reduces demand and consequently economically contracts in industry sectors such as the manufacturing sector and adjacent sectors such as retail, transport, and storage. So, yeah, I can't see any comments yet this evening, but that's fine. A couple of people watching, hello. This is the first time I've used this portrait format on StreamYard. I'm trying to get myself back in the habit of doing evening broadcasts. The other hashtag I used today was Runner Romney McDaniel. Runner Romney, whatever. She stopped using the name Romney at Trump's behest because he didn't want to be reminded of Mitt Romney, who had been a fairly outspoken anti-Trump person. And the Republican Party, the RNC, hasn't been able to raise that much money this year. It's woefully underperforming, in no small part because a lot of the Republican base are not just the Republican base anymore. They're Trumpists, and they send money to poor little Donald Trump, who can't pay for his own lawyers despite being a billionaire. And they pay him money, and that counts as worthiness when you measure your life's worth in terms of your devotion to the cult. Whether you've sacrificed your freedom by committing crimes on January the 6th and so going to jail, or you've just given all your available discretionary income to a self-declared billionaire. We know a lot of the tricks that Trump used to fool financial publications such as Forbes magazine by pretending to be his own chief financial officer, John Barron, putting on a slightly altered accent and calling up journalists and saying, oh, well, this is something that's not on the books, but this asset's been undervalued and he clearly deserves to be on the top 100 or top 500 Forbes richest list. And he lied. He lied because he understood that lying to make yourself sound more successful is a method for generating success. Success in terms of it's a method for generating a type of magnetism, a con magnetism of attracting mom and pop investors or bank investors, anybody who will send you money because of their belief that you have already succeeded and that you're therefore a sure bet for generating future income for yourself and for them as good-hearted, good faith investors. So Trump's definitely found it profitable to pretend to have had more financial success than he's had. He's had a lot of business failures that people have been so eager to overlook. And I think it's testament to the persuasive power of television storytelling in that he played a billionaire on television and that sold his story very effectively to a credulous public. I bought it. I had no reason to doubt that Trump truly was a business success. It's taken years for me to find out he mostly employed family members because family members don't snitch, that the producers of The Apprentice paid for furniture to make his office look less rundown and more successful, and that it's a front. Anyway, I ought to go to bed, but I just wanted to get back in that habit of broadcasting at night. If there's anyone has any comments, chime in because I'm about to go, and I probably don't have any regulars left at this point because I did broadcast very regularly leading up to the last election season in 2020 because as a granddaughter of Holocaust survivors, it felt very urgent to me that people understand that Trump is a threat to the democratic world order, that he's an unprincipled con artist who will literally sacrifice millions of lives for personal gain. And when I say millions of lives, Trump pushed untruths about COVID into the information sphere. And I would argue that he did so deliberately to try and cultivate contrarian energy, to create a resistance movement against public health officials, so that he would be the only one telling them the truth. Because when you go against reality, and the reality was COVID was a dangerous pandemic and people needed to take precautions in order to safeguard their own health and the health of their families and communities. When you take a stand against the truth, then yes, you might be the only person doing that, at least initially. You can cultivate followers, but your position will be unique if you steel yourself to say the opposite of what more cautious, public-minded people are saying. So when Trump told people that COVID was a fabrication, implied that it was a Democrat-fabricated circumstance in order for them to gain electoral advantage for themselves, and yet also at the same time insisted that it was a war from China. So he knows you don't have to be entirely coherent if you're simultaneously appealing to racism, because racism doesn't slot into the logical part of the brain. Racism slots into the ego-satisfying part of the brain, where you go, yes, that feels right, that gels with the logic that I was marinated in as I grew up, that some people are more worthy than others, and therefore nobody has to feel guilty about Jim Crow or slavery or redlining, because there's just inherent worthiness of certain paper complexion people. And so when Trump implies that migrants from Mexico are all likely to be criminals, or a vast majority are likely to be criminals, then that is satisfying to people whose worldview has been shaped consciously and probably unconsciously by the idea of white Christian supremacy. So, on this particular device, I can't share my screen. I would normally be sharing bits from Twitter so that we could go through what informed people are saying, some established commentary, but I will try and do that tonight, bring in a different device. And yes, thanks for listening to those who listened, and thanks to any replay viewers. Keep following the shit show. Today we've had Trump's request for full immunity refused by in a 57-page judgment from 3 female judges on the district court, the DC district court, and they said no. We have a rule of law. Trump was not acting as an office holder when he sought to, and when he conducted his activities, and he was acting as an office seeker. He wanted to seek a further term in office. He's not protected by executive privilege. He doesn't have executive immunity. And good. America is not a monarchy. It is a constitutional representative democracy where laws govern the inhabitants of this nation. There is a rule of law that applies to former presidents, to presidents, as well as to citizens. And as a citizen now and a former president, Trump should be held accountable to the rule of law. So that's my final thought for the evening. Thanks for listening. Take care. And take care and be best. No, we don't adopt Melania's exhortations. Take care and carpe diem. I looked it up. There was a more fulsome comment than carpe diem. There's more to that saying. So I'll have a look. Because why not have a good carpe diem quam minimum credula postero, which can be translated as pluck the day, trusting as little as possible in the next one. But carpe diem alone has come to be used as shorthand for the entire idea, which is more widely known as seize the day. So carpe diem quam minimum credula postero. Yeah, that's one way to try and live in the moment, I guess. Seize the day, trusting as little as possible to the next. It's not my motto for every day, but I'll leave it for now. Cheers, bye.